What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron BlastSinger. So today we are having another episode of my character build series, where I present to you Bilbron BlastSinger. You might recall that I did put a Bladesinger build up on my channel once before, and I ended up taking it down because it was pretty ridden with mistakes, given that it was my first effort to deal with any sort of martial character, and I just got all messed up on the rules and such. So I took it down, and now I have a big hole there because I have a review and rating series, and I have an optimization video, but I have no build video for the Bladesinger. So I have been meaning to plug that hole, and guess what? Today's the day. So before we begin, like, subscribe, comment, and check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel. And without further ado, let's take a look at Bilbron BlastSinger. Alrighty, I have put the Tier 1 character sheet up on the screen, and you can see the basic setup. We are going to be going with custom race here, and our starting stats will be Strength 8, Dex 15, Con 14, Intelligence 17, Wisdom 10, and Charisma 8. We will be using a rapier as our weapon. I decided to go with custom because I wanted dark vision on this character without having to use like a light spell or anything like that, because I'm going to be deploying a Shadowblade, and I want to be able to use it in the right conditions without screwing them up with a light source. And this was a little annoying because if I had gone V-Human, then our defenses and the damage and attack bonus and such would have been a bump at +1, but I decided not to because I wanted that dark vision. So we're going to be a little bit less than what we could be in levels 1 through 4. And I'm going to be building this guy as if he was a Bladesinger, with a role-playing distaste for dishonorable combat tactics like the ones that I use on my Hide Wizard, which I think are tactically superior, but are not really appropriate for the Bladesinger archetype. And we are also going to be avoiding summon spells, which again are tactically superior to any other option, but if I'm going to be doing a lot of wizard builds and such, I don't want to be giving all of them the exact same spell list and using the exact same tactics, so we are going to be avoiding summoning spells on this build. Feel free to stick them in there if you really like, though. So this build will be a skirmisher-type martial character in playstyle. I'm going all in on the idea that he's a Gish, and he's going to be mostly hitting things with his sword, and I'm not going to be doing the spellcaster in the back that just happens to have Blade Song approach. So spells will support this martial capability. And of course, I'm going to presume that we don't add any spells through scrolls or captured spell books or anything like that. Obviously, that stuff is really campaign dependent, but do try to get them to bolster your spell book whenever possible. And we'll be starting with the skills Acrobatics, Perception, Investigation, and Arcana, with some Thieves' tools and Smith's tools and whatever other tools that you want. So at level 1, as you might expect of a Bladesinger build, we are going to be starting with Artificer. That's going to give us a few extra hit points and Constitution saves, and it's all part of the build. So we'll be starting with an AC of 17, with Scale, Mail, Shield, and our Dexterity. You see the initiative and the saves. Our attack bonus is +4, our damage is D8 +2, and the feat that we will be starting with for custom race is Mobile. And we will be adding through Artificer Magical Tinkering, 2 cantrips, and a couple of spells. So the cantrips, we will be taking our Booming Blade and Thorn Whip. Our 3 preps will be Expeditious Retreat, Fairy Fire, and Cure Wounds. And so Mobile bumps our move up to 40 feet, and it will be 50 feet once Blade Song comes online. And it allows for a free disengage. So nice synergy with Booming Blade, as we can separate from the enemy to force him to take extra damage if he chooses to close and melee with me. And of course, Booming Blade will be our main attack. We have Thorn Whip available as an elite ranged pull. And of our spells, Expeditious Retreat will be our level 1 round 1 bonus action to give us elite maneuverability. The bonus action dash has nice synergy with Mobile, which ignores difficult terrain on a dash. So to get an extra one on every round is going to be pretty sweet. We are going to be fast and totally control the range. Fairy Fire is a great option versus invisible creatures. Cure Wounds is always nice. And Magical Tinkering offers some utility and some fun roleplay elements, because recall you can put an image on a screen, and I have the impression that this guy is going to be somewhat flamboyant, so that sort of thing will be right up his alley in terms of role-playing. Then at level 2, we take our first level of Wizard. Our AC is still really good. And we add 3 wizard cantrips and 3 spell slots to go with our new spell book. So for cantrips, we have Booming Blade and Thorn Whip from the Artificer, and from Wizard we are taking Firebolt, Mind Sliver, and Green Flame Blade. Our spell book will contain Find Familiar, Shield, Absorb Elements, Thunder Wave, Sleep, and Unseen Servant, and we'll keep the same Artificer preps, and our Wizard preps will be Shield, Absorb Elements, Thunder Wave, and Sleep. We do have a familiar. We will be going with the Owl so that he can use his flyby help action to gain us advantage on my 1 attack. For cantrips, the Firebolt is the best wizard attack cantrip with good damage, uses an attack roll, and can affect objects. We'll take Mind Sliver for a decent ranged option that hits a good save and offers an elite debuff. Although Sapping Sting would be better. The DM has to approve it because it's technically a Dunamancy spell, and so a Bladesinger normally wouldn't have access to it. But I suspect a lot of DMs are pretty lenient in that regard. And that prone condition that it imparts is nice synergy with extra attack, which we will pick up at some point. Green Flame Blade is another nice melee option to pair with Booming Blade. Shield and Absorb Elements, of course, are the premier reactions for defense. Thunder Wave is a decent area of effect option if we get swarmed in melee. Sleep is elite at 2nd level. And we took Unseen Servant as a nice ritual because we don't have the room to prep any more spells. At 3rd level, we add another level of wizard and officially become Bladesingers. Blade Song is now online to bump our move to 50, bumps our AC to 18, and will buff our concentration checks. For armor, we're going to be switching to Mage Armor plus Dex plus Blade Song. To that end, we will add Mage Armor and Tensor's Floating Disc to our spell book, and we will add Mage Armor to our preps. So it's nice to add Mage Armor here because we just doubled our spell slots and have 4 first levels now, so sticking it in there isn't going to kill our effectiveness like it might have at levels 1 or 2. And I added Tensors because we need a ritual as we don't have any available preps. We have a couple of slots that we need to upcast into, and Thunder Wave and Sleep are good options for that. And now our round 1 bonus action will be to activate our Blade Song. Then at level 4, we take a 3rd level of Wizard, and we add to our book Shadowblade and Shatter. We will also add them to our prep list and drop Sleep. Maybe a little early to drop Sleep, but I need the room. And note that I am assuming that Shadowblade works with Booming Blade here. Technically, rules as written, it won't because it doesn't have a monetary value. But Jeremy Crawford has informally specified that you can, that it wasn't the intent of the spell, that he would just assume that any weapon that you created would automatically take on the value given in the player's handbook. So I'm going forward with that ruling. Obviously, you're going to need to talk to your DM, and if he disagrees, then you're going to have to rework this build. Maybe do Spirit Shroud or something. So now that we've added Shadowblade, that will be our main weapon and concentration spell. Our round 1 will be activating Blade Song and then blasting, either Thunder Wave or Shatter. And then our round 2 will be to summon our Shadowblade and start messing people up with Booming Blade. That will essentially double our damage dice from 1d8 to 2d8. Then at level 5, we add another level of Bladesinger. We get our first ASI, which I split between Intelligence and Dexterity to bring them up to 18 and 16 respectively. We add an additional Wizard cantrip and some spells. So we'll add Ray of Frost here to give us more attack roll cantrip versatility. It's cold versus Firebolt being fire. To our spellbook, we'll add Mirror Image and Web, and we will add them as our preps as well. Mirror Image will be a good no concentration defense, but we are only going to use it if we can pre-cast it before initiating an attack. If we get attacked and I don't have it up, I don't think it's worth wasting an action on it. Your action economy is better spent on just attacking. We add Web as an area of effect control option, but do note that it competes with Shadowblade for concentration, so you're going to have to pick your timing. And we are now upcasting Shadowblade as a 3rd level slot to bump our damage up to 3d8 with each swing. We got a proficiency bump and our cantrips increase, so when we use Booming Blade, that's going to add an additional d8 on the strike itself, and if we get them to move, it'll be 2d8. And here at level 5, we will now pass all standard concentration checks while Blade Song is active. Thanks to starting as an Artificer, our con save is +5. We add +4 for our Intelligence, which means we can never roll less than a 10. At level 6, we add another level of Bladesinger. Our slots increase, and to our spellbook we add Fireball and Phantom Steed, and we will prep Fireball. No need to prep Phantom Steed as it is a ritual. So Fireball will generally be our opening blast over Shatter in round 1 as we activate our Blade Song. And I had to add a ritual because I had no available preps, and of course Phantom Steed is an elite option to add maneuverability and to support the party so that everyone can have that sort of maneuverability, or so that you can travel very quickly. And the mount rules are kind of ambiguous in this game, but your DM might require you to dismount your mount in order to leverage your personal maneuverability, since mounts don't technically move on your turn. But you don't have to dismount until you have closed with the enemy, so it's nice to start out on the Phantom Steed so that you have that elite 200-foot movement and can get to where you want to be before actually swinging your sword. Then at level 7, we add our extra attack and some spells. We add Tiny Servant and Counterspell, both to our book and to our preps, and we will drop Thunderwave at this point. So our 4th level slot is now dedicated to upcasting Tiny Servant, which will get us 3 Tiny Servants, and we can give them standing orders to attack anything that I'm fighting, and it will function as an always-on miniature animate objects. And this is something that we will be doing throughout our career. We will sometimes have more than 3 Tiny Servants, but we will never have less than 3. Counterspell, of course, is an excellent reaction against spellcasters. I generally prefer Dispel Magic, as Counterspell is somewhat unreliable, as you can't both do it and figure out what spell they're casting, but it is definitely nice to have in your back pocket. And of course, Extra Attack is now online, so we are throwing out 2 attacks per round with our 3rd level Shadowblade, doing 3d8 plus 3 with each strike, and on one of them, we're throwing down Booming Blade for at least an extra d8 and hopefully an extra 3d8. Obviously, you can choose to use a different cantrip if you prefer. At level 8, we go back to Artificer and add infusions. At this point, we can change our cantrips, and so we are going to drop Booming Blade and add Magic Stone. Wizards, of course, can change their cantrips after every long rest, so we are going to add Booming Blade there and drop Ray of Frost. For our infusions, we are going to grab the Mind Sharpener and the Spell Rot Tattoo for Gift of Alacrity. You can learn 2 others, but they don't really matter for this build. The Mind Sharpener is elite for dialing in our concentration. We can now almost never lose it. We already pass all normal concentration checks. We've got a great roll, so we're doing quite well even if the damage exceeds 20. And if we ultimately fail, we got a Mind Sharpener. So we are not losing our concentration. Now that we've infused our robes with the Mind Sharpener, we can also use it as a spell casting focus, and that frees up our offhand. The Spell Rot Tattoo with Gift of Alacrity is nice because it provides that critical initiative bump. Because don't forget, the Bladesinger is vulnerable on round 1 before he activates his Blade Song, so it's quite important for this archetype to win initiative. And we do add an additional Artificer prep, so we are going to add Featherfall. And it's just always going to be there in our back pocket in case we fall. Eventually we're going to be setting up a contingency with Dimension Door, so Featherfall is going to be nice to synergize with that. At level 9, we add a 3rd level of Artificer and choose the Artillerist. That is going to add the Eldritch Cannon and increase our spell slots. We didn't get an increase in our spell slots at the last level because Artificers are half the level rounded up. And I plan to use the Protector version of the cannon to spam temporary hit points on myself and my allies. You could opt for an offensive cannon if you prefer, but that does have worse action economy. Remember, temporary hit points never expire, so you can use your defensive cannon as soon as you wake up after a long rest, and every one of your party members is going to start the day and start each battle with a d8 plus 4 temporary hit points, 8 or 9, which is pretty sweet. That'll bump to 9 or 10 once you get to 11th level. And while it does have that bonus action clog, since round 1 and round 2, your bonus action is dedicated to Blade Song and Shadowblade, since you are entering battle with your temporary hit points, you don't need to worry about activating your cannon until round 3, at which point you might want a refresh of those temporary hit points. Now you can use the tiny version or the small version to ride on your shoulder. The small version even has legs, and since you're a medium-sized creature, it can mount you. But if the DM insists, you can carry it in your hand. You will have to manage your components with an interact with object to successfully carry your cannon in your hand, but that's not actually such a big deal. You can keep your rapier sheathed and then cast on round 1, and then summon your Shadowblade on round 2, or pull your Rapier, either way. At level 10, we are back to adding Bladesinger levels, and we're just going to go straight Wizard from here on out. To our book, we will add Fire Shield and Dimension Door. We will also add these 2 spells to our preps and drop Shatter at this point. And I chose these because they're not concentration and they're pretty sweet to have. Remember, our concentration is dedicated to the Shadowblade, so we've really got to manage our book so that we don't have all sorts of concentration clog. I see a lot of badly put together spell books that realistically you just can't cast those spells. So we are going to make sure that we have no such problems, and all of our spells synergize with the fact that we concentrate on our Shadowblade. Fire Shield is nice for a melee caster because that retribution damage will actually come into effect. The defensive aspects of it are also nice, and it is no concentration. And of course, Dimension Door is always fantastic. It helps you circumvent obstacles, can give you a panic button, just one of those must-have spells. We will now be upcasting Shadowblade as a 5th level slot to bump the damage to 48 plus 3. And round 1, we have been activating our Blade Song and Blasting, but we can choose now to activate our Fire Shield if we prefer. It's going to depend on the scenario, of course. Moving into Tier 3 and level 11, we add another level of Bladesinger. We get our 2nd ASI, so we max out our intelligence at 20. And we add some spells. I am going to add Fabricate and Charm Monster and add both to my prep list. I don't really want to add Fabricate. It's better just to prep it as needed, but nothing else really to put here, assuming that we haven't added any spells to our book through scrolls or whatever. I could go back and add one of the lower level spells, but honestly, we would never use it, and Fabricate is really super amazing, especially with those Artificer tool proficiencies. Now, personally, I would prefer to prepare Fly here if you can add it through a scroll or something, but I can't squeeze it into the ones that I get at my level ups, so your mileage may vary. And the Fabricate is just really sweet. You can print money, even if you're just turning scrapped weapons and armor or ingots or whatever into plate mail. And I like Charm Monster as a powerful, no concentration option that has combat and utility uses. If you use your imagination, it's quite a powerful spell, and you can charm stuff that might make tunnels for you or help you out in all sorts of cool ways. At level 12, we add another level of Bladesinger, pick up a 6th level slot, and to our book, we add Wall of Force and Steel Wind Strike. And we add them both to our preps, and then we drop Fabricate and just prep as needed. Wall of Force, of course, is an elite no-save option that is almost every wizard's first add upon acquiring 5th level spells. And Steel Wind Strike is pretty sweet. Great role-playing synergies with this Bladesinger character, and it's a no-verbal component teleport and attack that you can use to escape silence and grapples and mess people up. Also at this point, we are going to be using our 1 6th level slot on Tiny Servant, so we are now going to be rolling with 7 of them. At 13th level, we add another level of Bladesinger, and our Song of Defense comes online. To our book, we will be adding Bigby's Arcane Hand, and either Contact Other Plane or Rary's Telepathic Bond. For preps, we will add Bigby's, as it's a very versatile ranged option that can attack, grapple, offer defense, or push. And we're going to add a ritual here because we have no available preps, and we can choose between 2 elite ones. Contact Other Plane is great if you prefer fantastic intel, and Rary's Telepathic Bond is always awesome for covert communications between the party, both in and out of combat. I would probably give the edge to Contact Other Plane here just because I personally love to have intel, but it's going to depend on your party's construction. Maybe there's clerics that are doing divinations and communes and stuff, and maybe people are tripping over each other in combat and you'd prefer the Telepathic Bond. Song of Defense is not one of my favorite Bladesinger abilities, but it's nice to add to help manage our hit points and keep difficult concentration checks to a manageable level. At level 14, we add another level of Bladesinger, and to our book, we add Tasha's Otherworldly Guise and Contingency. We will just prep Tasha's, and we are now upcasting our Shadowblade as a 7th level slot to bump its damage to 5d8 plus 3. We will set up a Contingency. I honestly didn't think about this one too much. I just went with the standard Dimension Door 500 feet straight up if you're reduced to below 20 hit points. You can change the hit point threshold, you can change the spell, but at first glance I think Dimension Door works well here, and we do have Featherfall. I love Tasha's Otherworldly Guise because it offers an AC bump, which I love, an excellent fly speed, which I love, and an array of immunities that I love. So yeah, Tasha's Otherworldly Guise, baby. And we are now back to upcasting our Tiny Servant as a 4th level spell, just to free up the 5th and 6th level slots, since we now have 5th and 6th level spells. At level 15, we add another level of Bladesinger. We get another ASI, so we start bringing our decks up. To our spellbook, we add Soul Cage and Wall of Ice, and we will add both of them to our prep list as well, dropping Mirror Image. Soul Cage is one of my favorite spells. It's a reaction, so great action economy, no concentration, and it offers an array of elite and wildly versatile abilities. You can get intel, you can heal, and you can give yourself advantage on attacks and saves and checks. So pretty sweet, and I do think it passes the role-playing bar for honorable combat because it only works after you kill somebody, so to the victors go the spoils. And Wall of Ice is a nice versatile option because it combines a blast, a wall, and a persistent area of effect all in one spell. I like that sort of efficiency. And it's going to need to be good if it's going to occupy our concentration instead of Shadowblade. At level 16, our Bladesinger adds a couple more spells. We go with Simulacrum and Force Cage. As prep, we add Force Cage, and I'm sure I don't need to explain why I'm adding these, right? I mean, they're just amongst the most powerful spells in the game, and I'd be shocked if any wizard didn't start with these. Then at level 17, we add another level of Bladesinger and get our Song of Victory. To our spellbook, we add Crown of Stars and Teleport, and we will prep Crown of Stars. Crown of Stars does a lot of extra damage, even though we have bonus action Clog in rounds 1 and 2, and we have an Eldritch Cannon. But it's nice to have options for your bonus action, and this one can really stack up the damage, and it's no concentration and a 1-hour duration, so good for action economy. We're adding Teleport because, as far as I'm concerned, every wizard should be able to teleport, and we don't have room to prep it regularly, but we will prep it when we need to and drop Crown of Stars. At level 18, we add to our book Illusory Dragon and Sunburst, and we will add both of them as preps. We will drop Web. Illusory Dragon is both powerful and just extremely cool. This is one of those spells that I would really like to cast just for the fun of it. And Sunburst because we like to blast on round 1 as we put our Blade Song up, and we're just getting a little bored with Fireball. At level 19, we add our final ASI and max out our decks. To our spellbook, we add Maze and Clone. We will prep Maze and make a clone so that we are immortal. Maze, of course, is just a fantastic no-save FU. Clone because every wizard should have a clone. And we finally get to 20th level. To our spellbook, we add Wish and True Polymorph. We add Wish to our preps, and we use True Polymorph to break the game because I want a pet Hollyphant, among many other things. So that's the character, and we see in its final version, Bilbron BlastSinger is able to create maneuverability through the Mobile Feat, Blade Song, Expeditious Retreat, his Phantom Steed, Dimension Door, and Tasha's Otherworldly Guise. We create offense from our Shadowblade, Booming Blade, Fire Shield's Retribution damage, Tiny Servants chucking Magic Stones. I don't think I talked about that combo, but 3 Tiny Servants and Magic Stone is a really awesome combo. You can give them standing orders to throw them, and then whenever you make one with your bonus action, they'll just grab them and chuck them and can do 3d6 plus 15 damage per round, which is pretty nice for an always-on ranged attack. We also blast a lot, and we have a Simulacrum. We will gain advantage on our attacks from the Familiar Help action and through our Soul Cage, and Sapping Sting if the DM allows it. We can create control through Web, Bigby's Arcane Hand, Wall of Force and Ice, Force Cage and Maze, and we will create defense by skirmishing with our Elite Mobility. We have Shield and Absorb Elements, we have a Fire Shield, we have Tasha's Otherworldly Guise, we can counterspell, we have a Contingency, our Eldritch Cannon is spamming temporary hit points left and right, we can Cure Wounds, we have a Clone, and our Familiar can apply Potions of Healing as per the Advanced Familiar Tactics Deep Dive video that you can check out. And this character just never loses concentration due to having con saves, having Blade Song, and having a Mind Sharpener. So that's it. That is Bilbron BlastSinger. I'm a lot happier with this build than I was with my original one. I think it's pretty strong all the way from level 1 through level 20, always getting really cool stuff. Got really good offense, defense, utility, and really great maneuverability. So I'm pretty happy with this. But let me know what you think. I love, getting the critiques and additional better ideas in the comments. So let me know. And regardless, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron BlastSinger. See you next time.